Our scripture reading today comes from Luke 15, 11 through 32. And he said, "There was a man who had 2 sons, and the younger of them said to his father, 'Father, give me the share of property that is coming to me.' And he divided his property between them. Not many days later, the younger son gathered all he had and took a journey into a far country, and there he squandered his property in reckless living. And when he had spent everything, a severe famine had come over the land, and he began to be in need. So he went and hired himself out to one of the citizens of that country, who sent him into the fields to feed pigs. And he was longing to be fed with the pods that the pigs ate, and no one gave him anything. But when he came to himself, he said, 'How many of my father's hired servants have more than enough bread, but I perish here with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and I will say to him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I am no longer worthy to be called your son. Treat me as one of your hired servants.' And he arose and he came to his father. But while he was still a long way off, his father saw him and felt compassion and ran and embraced him and kissed him. And the son said to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and before you. I'm no longer worthy to be called your son.' But the father said to his servants, 'Bring quickly the best robe and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand and shoes on his feet. Bring the fattened calf and kill it, and let us eat and celebrate. For this son of mine was dead and is alive again. He was lost and is found.' And they began to celebrate. Now his older son was in the field. And as he came and drew near to the house, he heard music and dancing. And he called one of the servants and asked them what these things meant. And he said to them, 'Your brother has come, and your father has killed the fattened calf, because he has received him back safe and sound.' But he was angry and refused to go in. His father came out and entreated with him. But he answered his father, 'Look, these many years I have served you, and I never disobeyed your command. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might celebrate with my friends. But when this son of yours came, and who has devoured your property with prostitutes, you killed the fattened calf for him.' And he said, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that is mine is yours. It was fitting to celebrate and be glad, for this brother of yours was dead and is alive. He was lost and is found.'" This is the word of the Lord. Awesome. Y'all can have a seat. Good morning on this Family Sunday. I am talking from Luke 15, Prodigal Son, story a lot of y'all have heard about. Wonderful story, one of my favorites. And it came also from the book that our little lambs are reading through this summer, called Jesus, Our True Friend. And this is kind of like 7 extra stories that weren't in the Jesus Storybook Bible, but it's by the same author and illustrator, and it is excellent. Highly recommend. Thank you to Janie. She got this for Stone for the baby shower. Wonderful story. The story specifically we're going to talk about today is called Our True Older Brother. Now, I'm going to do a couple things this morning. I'm going to set this over here, if that seems a lot easier. I'm going to tell you about the audience of this story. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail about the story, and then I'm going to give us 3 takeaways from the story. Okay, so the audience. This, we didn't quite read this part, but the audience that this story, that Jesus told this parable to, was a couple groups of people. The bad people, the sinners, the tax collectors, and then the good people. Our story calls them the extra super holy people. They were the Pharisees and the scribes. They probably walked around like this because they were just so perfect. And they had some complaining. They were grumbling amongst themselves because how dare Jesus spend time with these bad people? We're the good people. If he was a rabbi worth his skin, he would be hanging out with us, not them. And Jesus overheard this. I bet they weren't saying it very quietly, or just gathered what they were thinking, and he told them this story. And so that's the audience. We got some bad people who are clearly bad. As soon as you look at them, it was obvious. And then some people that were good, but really were also bad. Okay, so the story itself. A father has 2 sons. The younger one goes to his father and says, you know what, Dad, you're not operating on my timetable. I want my inheritance. I know I usually get it when you're dead, but you're just not doing that quick enough for my liking. So can I just have my inheritance? Because I think I know how to live best. And the father sadly agrees and gives him the inheritance. The younger son walks or goes off to a far country and engages in reckless living and just squanders everything. The older son stays home, continues to work for his father, and secretly in his heart is amassing this "I earned this" list. And he's just like, that younger son is no good, but I'm doing what dad needs me to do. And one day I'm going to cash in this "I owe you, I earned this" list. So the younger son hits rock bottom. Famine comes in the land. He's spent all of his money. And he says, I got to get back home. I need to get back home. My father will never have me back, but maybe he'll hire me on as a servant. And as he's walking back, I imagine the father on a rocking chair on the porch, sits there every day waiting for him to come over the crest of the hill. And then he sees somebody. And he hops up and he squints. He says, I think that's him. I think that's him. And he runs down the driveway and he goes and he just hugs him. And they throw a party for him. The older son is not as excited, quite angry. He's irate. He's livid. How dare you? He refuses to go into the party, and the father pleads for him. Please come. Please come in. Your younger brother was lost and now is found. Please come back. We should celebrate. And it ends there. We don't really know what happens with the older brother, which is interesting. I think when we tell this story, at least every time I've heard it, the younger brother gets a disproportionate amount of the screen time, if you will. We like to focus on him. And many of us can relate to the younger brother, thinking we know better than God, thinking if I had the resources, I could live the good life. We like taking matters into our own hands, often with tragic results. We relate to the younger brother. Additionally, we all love a redemption arc in a story. We love the Darth Vader moments. It's just like a bad guy through much personal growth and saying, I'm sorry, coming and becoming a good guy. We love that story arc, and we get to see that full circle here in the story. So the younger brother gets a little bit more of the time. The older brother fades into the background, partially due to identifying. I said we relate to the younger brother a lot. I think we relate to the older brother too. It's just not as noticeable. But the younger brother, we can point to our pig pen moments pretty easily. The moments that we're just rock bottom, whether it's relationally, financially, physically, emotionally, spiritually. It's often pretty easy to realize, I need some help. I need some help. The kids in the room are a lot better at asking for help than the adults. It's easier to realize our pig pen moments. Additionally, the older brother struggles with self-righteousness, which is sneaky. It likes to slither into your heart through the back door, so to speak. You can't put a finger on your own self-righteousness as easily as your own pig pen. It's much harder to detect in our own hearts. Self-righteousness is the sin of doing good things for wrong reasons, and our story describes it wonderfully. I'll try to show you all the pictures too. Okay. Meanwhile, the extra super good son, the older son, thought to himself, if I stay here and I follow the rules, my father will owe me, and he will have to give me whatever I want. I'll get all his stuff, then I'll be happy. He didn't want his dad either. He just wanted his things. He just went about it a whole different way than the younger son. So the older son stayed home, but in his heart he had wandered far away. So you see, both sons were lost and far from their father. That self-righteousness, it looked a lot different. If you looked at those two sons, I bet you would think one was better than the other. We know the older brother struggles with self-righteousness. We know he's not just a genuine, I'm going to be here for my father, because of his reaction to his brother coming home. His explosion of rage when his brother came home illustrates how he struggled. He cannot fathom why his younger, foolish brother would have been welcomed back into the home. He's mad because they were throwing his brother a party, which he clearly doesn't deserve, instead of throwing one for himself. After all, he is the good son that stayed home. He deserves the party. He wanted to cash in on the "you owe me, Dad." Let's read again in our story. The older son did not go into the party, so the father left the party and went out to him. Beautiful picture, by the way. "Son," he said. "Look, you," the older brother said. "What's wrong with you? You shouldn't love that no-good son of yours. I'm the good one. I've worked and worked day and night for you, obeying all of your orders. I deserve the party, not him." You can see his reaction here illustrates what's wrong. He wasn't doing good things for the right reasons. He was just trying to get his father's stuff a different way. So I have 3 takeaways from this story. Takeaway number 1 is God is a good father. And he deserves our trust. That's for the kiddos in the room. If you count yourself as a child, God is a good father, better than your mom and dad, more trustworthy even than us. And I think we're pretty trustworthy. You should trust us too. I realized something when studying for this, a story that I've read and been read to 100 times. I assumed that the father in this story was bad, which is so, I almost said stupid. Someone doesn't like that word though. So foolish of me, because the father in the story represents God. And I assumed, well, if he was a good father, son probably wouldn't have ran away. And I even took it a little step further in my brain. If I was the father of the story, my son wouldn't run away. That is extremely arrogant, utterly foolish, and totally false. Because I have some examples in my own life. I have a wonderful father who's not perfect, none of us are, but a wonderful dad, and I've rebelled against him more times than I can count, both directly and subtly. And also, my earthly father is perfect, and I've spit in his face more times than I can count. I've said I know better. And so some encouragement. And I need this because if I grow up and my kids turn their back on me, that's going to be really hard for me. And I know there are people in our church that has happened. And I want to encourage you that this father represents God, the perfect father figure, and his children still rebel. None of us are perfect. So if you have children, or if some of our kids grow up and walk away, our Father can relate to that. And I will need that if that happens to me. And it will happen in one way or another. It already has some this morning. Takeaway number 2, self-righteousness is deadly for many reasons. Self-righteousness is subtle and sneaky, and it makes you uncaring. I love how our story puts this. The older brother didn't worry about him, talking about his younger brother, or care what happened to him, or even search for him. He didn't even bother going to the next town over and trying to get his younger brother back. He didn't do any of that because he didn't care. He didn't care that his younger son. He obviously didn't. Look at when the son came back, when his younger brother came back, his reaction was anger, not joy. Self-righteousness makes us not care. And it takes us a step further. It actually makes you relish in the foolishness of others. This is the whole reason why gossip is so tantalizing. If you think about gossip, even if you're not the one sharing it, we can probably point like, yeah, that's not good. Don't be sharing gossip. But even just listening to it, sometimes our ears burn. We're like, oh, Johnny got fired. Why? And it's because in our self-righteous hearts, we want to prove to ourselves that we're better than Johnny. It makes us like when other people are foolish. Oh my goodness, that's far past just not caring. We want them to do bad. The older brother maybe was secretly happy that his younger brother did that. Now, by comparison, I'm the best. It also makes you a comparison monster. And we see that in our story. He's saying, he didn't deserve the party, I deserve the party. I'm better than him. Hard to have relationships with each other when we're doing that, when we're playing that game. Okay, last thing. Jesus is the true older brother. Hence the title of our story. He is the true older brother. The extra super holy people that were listening to the story had no idea that standing before them, telling them this story, was another older brother. A true older brother who didn't just go to the next town, but who had come from heaven to earth to find God's lost children. And this older brother would do anything, give up everything, even his own life, to bring them home. What an encouraging sentiment that we have an older brother that came back to look for us, to get us back. He came back to give. And the thing is, he wasn't just self-proclaimed, he wasn't just self-righteous. He was perfect righteousness. He was the one that truly could say, I deserve the party. And he left heaven to make a way for us to return. I think Philippians 2 illustrates this well. Who, though he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, to be kept to himself, but emptied himself by taking the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. This is what Jesus did for us. He's our true older brother who would do anything to get us back. Let's pray. God, I thank you for your word, and I thank you for allowing us to open it together. I thank you for times where we can get together and worship you by song and by studying, by confessing and by assuring ourselves that you love us despite our sin. God, please be with us as we combat our own rebellion and self-righteousness. Keep these far from our hearts so we are able to love others instead of comparing ourselves to them. Be with our church family near and far as we look towards the hope that we have in our true older brother coming back to make all things new. We love you and we praise you. Amen.